Nice and shiny, not slimy. Sometimes you find that some of your chicken has extra fat on it. Right, you can obviously, if you're just roasting it, take that out. We're checking also for coloration. You can see in there it's nice and pink. There's no green or yellow. It's got quite a pleasant smell. It's quite cold to the touch as well, so you know they've literally just come out of the fridge. These, in fact, have just been delivered. So I know they're nice and fresh too. So, the first thing to do when we're getting ready for cutting for saute is we are making sure that we know and identify where all the joints are. So we know that we've got two legs, we've got joints here and here, we've got the winglet which we're going to keep on, and we've got the main breast carcass. So, as we stated yesterday, I'm going to take this flapper skin off nice and slowly so you can see what I'm doing. Disposing of that. Then, where somebody struggled yesterday, there's a V bone here. You can't quite see it because the breast meat is covering it. So, literally, with the knife, as you rub it, you gradually expose that bone. So just take your time just to rub along that bone. Okay, now they're both exposed. I can actually get my finger behind it, look. Can I get my finger behind there? Afternoon. And then literally cut down behind that bone, and then literally my fingers, I can massage it out. And if you're very clever like me, and it usually happens about 1 time in 10, you can take it out whole. Now the main reason we take that bone out is when we do cuts, we take all the meat off the carcass. So that bone disposed of. Now, sometimes you find the chickens have the feet on. What I neglected to show you yesterday, and I apologise for that, is that sometimes the knuckle has to come off. So again, there's a little joint here. Just cut down, and that just takes the knuckle bit off. That just cleans at the end of the leg. Now, as you can see, there's a flapper skin both sides. With your knife, just put a V into that flapper skin. Not on the breast itself, just between the breast and the leg joint. And then literally the legs just flop open. Turn it over, and there's a ball and socket joint here. Press it, put it back. And what you're doing is dislocating the leg bone here for the ball and socket joint. You can pick it up if you find it easier, but I usually pick it up and just rest it slightly on the board, and then there's an oyster joint there, but then look, all I've done is taken it off that bone. Turn it over, pop it out, and then lift it up slightly through that oyster joint along the carcass. There's my 2 legs detached. Take my time now, just trim up, take off the excess fat. Then, as we said yesterday, there's a little white line. You can feel with your finger, there's a little dimple. Where the dimple is, rest your knife and look, no pressure, you just cut straight through. There's my drumstick. And there's my thigh joint. Same again with this one. Feel for my dimple. Cut through. It's right on that white line. One drumstick. one thigh joint. Okay. Now, a traditional cut for saute is that you have the wings. So here we cut just where the winglet is, straight through that joint, and take the wings off. Now, what they can do is cut it here, again straight through the joint, lose the tips, and they can use those. But personally, on a saute dish, there's more bone than there is actually meat there, so I usually use these for stock. You on your assessment only need the 8 pieces of meat. Right, we've now got what traditionally is called, and you probably see in the restaurant a lot, crown of chicken. Aaron gets them quite often, doesn't he? Where the legs have already been detached and you've just got your breast meat. You've got no worries about your bone here because that's already gone. So you've got to get 4 pieces of meat out. So 2 demi fillets and your centre. Now if you remember, this is where people struggled yesterday, we need to keep these on. Okay, so I don't want you to lose them. So we look at our breast, there's our backbone, we're looking about halfway. Gradually run your knife down, because that wishbone's now gone, it'll go straight down to the bottom. And then literally all I'm doing really slowly is peeling back against the carcass. And then at the bottom here there's another ball and socket joint. My knife cuts straight through that. So my winglet is still attached along with my fillet. At this point I'm going to clean up my bone. And then with a chopping knife, detach the end. And then at this point I can just trim up my demi fillet. Now what I look at is, what's my biggest joint here? Is it my thigh or is it my drumstick?
Thigh.
What's got more meat on? The thigh has. So the best piece of chicken, the demi fillet, I would put with my drumstick. Because that's slightly bigger, I would give the centerpiece with that one. So you get a bit of, no good and bad, but that to me, that's a first class part, that's a second class part. With the breast, that's a first class part, that's a second class part. So they get a bit of both. So I'll repeat what I did this side again, looking for the back centre of the breast, all the way down, peel it away, down the carcass to that ball and socket joint, take it away, and now I've got that centerpiece left. I'll come back to that in a second. So again, clean up my leg bone, sorry, my wing bone. Again, if you're making a stock, all your bones can be saved for that. Now we've got a centerpiece of meat. It's not quite steady because obviously you took a lot of the actual meat off already. Now if I lift it up, if I just detach that little bit of skin and fat there, can you see there's a bone here, a little V-shaped bone, that side and that side. What you've got to do with your knife is literally just come under that bone. Right, and then you can almost pull it away. Right, that then again can be used for stock. Now that's a piece of neck, don't need that. Now you've got your centre piece of chicken. All you're going to do is roughly look at where your centre is. Now remember, it tapers off at the front. It's a lot thicker at the back. So I usually go about there. Cut through the joint. When it won't go any further, just gently press down. Straight through the backbone. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8. That's it.
Fire!